What's up, y'all? It's your boy George Carmi from Full Press Coverage, and I'm here to talk about the Washington Commanders practice that I went to today at Ashburn, Virginia during their training camp. Before I dive in, I'm subscribing to my Full Press Commanders podcast. Just click the little icon on the bottom right hand corner, that little YouTube sticker right there. And I'd greatly appreciate it. It doesn't cost you a damn thing. Basically, it just makes it more fun for me to have our live streams. You'll get a little notification when I'm on. You guys can jump in the chat and ask some questions. That's what it's all about, man. Fan community and some fun time. So please consider joining that. Without further ado, we're going to jump into our Full Press Commanders podcast. Let's get it on. What's going on, y'all? It's George Carmi here. So thank you for joining my podcast. And we're going to talk about the Washington Commanders training camp today. It was a good time, man. There's definitely was some negative energy about the fan lottery and trying to get into training camp. But luckily I got to attend today. I'm a season ticket holder. I have the business ticket package, and because of that, I got to go to training camp today. And it was good vibes, man. Yesterday there was basically pictures going around by Nick Chavala showing that there's almost no fans at training camp, and that was a big deal. Like, and Philadelphia Eagle fans, Cowboy fans were tagging us, kind of ragging on us a little bit, talking about the fanship. But today was good, man. There's a couple hundred people there, lined all up and down the fields. I'd say about 3 or 4 rows deep, probably 300 to 400 fans. Wasn't overwhelming like a stadium atmosphere or anything like that, but at the same time, it was cool. It was good enough to get energy to kind of talk to your fellow fans there. But at the same time, you kind of felt intimate and you get to watch the actual practice. So that was pretty cool. Shout out to everybody I hung out with today, man. It was cool seeing Chris Bryan out today. I hung out with him for a little while. Rio was there. I saw Ron Burgundy's burner account. He's a good people. Got to hang out with him today. Rob Shoemaker, a bunch of cool people. So that's the whole point of this, man. Have a good time with fans, hang out, watch practice. And it was cool, man. It was actually nice weather. Clouds were over top, overcast. Didn't really have to worry about any heavy heat till the end of it. Got real hot near the end of practice, but it was a good time. So let's talk about the structure, man. So talking about the actual practice, practice kicked off around 9. If you saw some of my pictures on Twitter, around like 8:30, I took some pictures of fans. They started to come in a little bit early. I think Jaquez Ezzard was the first actual football player to run out on the field. That was good for him. Second day in a row for him doing that. Most of the players basically came out around like closer to 8:45, 8:50 when practice started at 9. Some of the more injured players like Antonio Gibson, Chase Young, and a couple other people ran down an alternate exit like around the backside, because I don't know if you guys have ever been to Ashburn, but there's essentially 2 fields, like a front field and a back field. But what ended up happening was most of the players ran down the main runway to the main field, while more of the injured players went to the back, and the backfield has the bikes and the cycles and things like that. So Antonio Gibson went down from that direction because he's still nursing his hamstring. Chase Young ran through the main way to go to the backfield, but most of the players came down that front runway, and it's cool. The players were very respectful. You give them a shout out, give a little peace sign, say what's up. One thing that I thought was really cool, Taylor Heineke ran down the field. He ran out. He was one of the first people out, probably around 8:30, 8:40, came out for practice. And everyone's like, oh, Heineke, like yelling at him, trying to get him to sign autographs. He's like, man, I got you, man. I got you after practice. And he was pretty cool about that. He came out, he signed a lot of autographs, and Heineke, he knows his like stature and his meaning to the team. So that was pretty cool. In terms of actual practice, it was cool, man. So what happened was they broke off in the team, broke up as 90 players on the field, mostly stretching for the first 10, 15 minutes, pretty basic stuff, hamstring, whatever's doing basic stretches. And then what ended up happening afterwards is they broke off into individual drills. And for me, I was on that front field that I was telling you about. They divided the fields up in 2 different parts. And directly in front of me, like I'd say from the 50-yard line down to the goal line, was the tight ends and the offensive line drills. So I got to see some tight end blocking and offensive line blocking there. That was pretty cool. And on the far field was mostly the quarterbacks and wide receivers running routes. A couple of things that I noticed is Samus Reyes is freaking jacked. He's swole. Cole Turner's a big boy. I really enjoyed watching him today, and we're going to talk about him a little bit later on in this podcast right here. And It was cool, man. I was talking to security guards that worked there as well, and he's like, "Man, yo," he's like, "George, Cole's been eating up all season, man." And I saw that today. He was getting fed a lot. He was running drags, catching some balls across the middle, and he was definitely featured and running with the ones a lot today. So that was cool seeing Cole Turner for so. Honestly, for those of you that are Cole Turner believers, like I can affirm that he actually looked pretty solid today. Um, so as I mentioned, the wide receivers and quarterbacks were on the other side of the field, and I got some video for that. I'm going to cut up a video for my channel in a second and put that on there as well. But on my takeaway, I don't want to create any negative energy or anything like that. But Wentz was like a little bit inaccurate. Like he had some zip on the ball. He had some zip on the ball, and if you look at the way he throws the ball compared to Heineke and Howell, like there's definitely a difference. It's like a ranking. Like, Wentz's zip, his velocity is a lot higher than Howell's, and Howell's is pretty significantly higher than Heineke's. But they all have different traits. So Wentz zips the ball. They're not uncatchable, but they're not 100% accurate, if that makes any sense. Like they're not like chess balls where you catch it right here. It's more like people have to like stretch out to catch the ball either above their heads or below their knees a couple times. And maybe he just had an off day, but that's just something I noticed. It wasn't the end of the world because we have some pretty good receivers. Like Jahan Dotson really, affirmed and proved some things to me today. He was catching some jump balls. He was catching some low balls as well. But it just like when you hear that talk about Carson Wentz having like he needs a receiver with a large catch radius, I can see where like the professionals have said it before. You can definitely see that as basically one of his traits or like areas of growth. I definitely noticed that as well. Heineke. Heineke, man, like, you can definitely tell that there really isn't a lot of zip on his ball, but what he does do well is he knows the offense and he throws with anticipation. So there were definitely some times where like he would throw the ball well in advance right before the wide receiver breaks and cuts. And they basically, the wide receiver would run into position and catch things in the stride. So, sorry, accuracy and throwing with anticipation is definitely one of Heineke's strengths and one of his traits. So I definitely saw that there. Um, right after the passing drills and after the offensive linemen and tight end drills, they actually moved over and did special teams. Tressway was booting the ball, as we noticed, freaking 40, 50-yard bombs, knocking it out. And what I was seeing with the punt returners was those primarily Jahan Dotson and Dax Milne. Give me 1 second. Yeah, Jahan Dotson and Dax Milne. There's a couple other guys like Alex Erickson who was out there receiving the ball, but definitely, I would say Jahan Dotson is in serious consideration for a punt return job. And, Dax Milne was definitely out there too. They were definitely the number 1 and 2 catching the ball, their primary punt returners. After that, they basically started doing like more like punt formations and like, practice punching the bag and then running up the field for like a mock punt simulation. Cam Sims was the gunner as well as Dimey Brown. They definitely had a lot of linebackers and, reserve players kind of competing for that as well. But Cam Sims was actually stood out to me a little bit there. Great blocker, great person catching the ball later on in practice. So he did a good job there too. Transitioning a little bit, right? So after special teams, after the practices, after the mock punting and all that, they did offense versus defense. And early on, man, offense was cooking. And it was actually really cool to watch. All three of the quarterbacks had a pretty good day today. Sam Howell had a couple deep bombs. These guys are kind of catching through social media. Carson Wentz, I thought looked good. Like as I said, he looked good. When he walked out on the field, he seemed like a professional quarterback, fully capable, knowledgeable, knew how to run the offense, but it's a little bit like there weren't dream balls when they were thrown to their quarterback. It was kind of off and up and down and left, and they had to adjust to them. But they were fluid, and they were in rhythm. So things were going pretty well there. Offense was cooking, mostly short game. Like I guess like I don't know if it was coincidental or the way by design, but the way practice kind of played out was it was more like running sets, early short yardage sets, and then eventually later on in practice were the deep shots. So during the short set time where they're kind of, doing quick slants and short throws and running back, like, wheel routes and stuff like that, offense was cooking. And Jaden McKissick actually was he was thriving, and it was kind of different seeing him as number 23, but he was running some sweeps, catching some balls at the backfield. Brian Robinson basically got a lot of that heavy usage because Antonio Gibson wasn't practicing in full today. So Brian Robinson was running up the middle. He looks legit. He looks huge out there, a big guy. And you can kind of see them kind of weeding off each other. But what I liked as well was that, for one, Dotson's the real deal, man. So Jahan Dotson, he can catch the ball. He's a steady receiver. He's going to be someone that's going to be fed a lot. So don't even worry about that. Like, that's just check that off. He's going to be legit. Like, there were times where the ball was thrown high, he'd catch it. Thrown in front of thrown in front of a defender, he'd snag it up. He's definitely a hands catcher, so I was proud of that. But the big takeaway that I took today was Cole Turner, man. Cole Turner was running with the ones fairly often. I don't know. I didn't really notice John Bates. Maybe it was like maybe the both tight ends were out there, or maybe John Bates didn't play that much today. I didn't notice Bates, but I noticed Cole Turner a lot. And Wentz was feeding him a lot. There's a lot of like drags and crosses across his face. It's short, let's say like 7-8 yard passes, maybe 5 yard passes, running across the middle. Cole Turner was being fed, and it seemed like he's going to be playing early this year, which I kind of thought was pretty interesting. So I like that as well. As practice went on, the defense really started to step up, and the defense started to kind of dominate, man. And the best part about it from a Commander's perspective is it was a defensive line leading the flow. So I have it written down on my notes right here. Daniel Wise, sorry, excuse me, completely tore up Chris Paul on one play. Like, I think it was Carson Wentz drove back, or maybe, how it didn't even matter what the quarterback was, because the play was dead instantly. Number 92, Daniel Wise, just shot out right past the right tackle, instant sack. And it was like, we all looked at each other like, damn, like, who the hell was that? That was a great play. So Daniel Wise definitely had a good play there. Montez Sweat, he's continuing his strong camp. He had a great practice today. He looks the part, man. Like, people were saying, he looking like Goliath, looking like a Greek sculptor. He's big, man. You can just tell he's long, lean, muscular. He was dominant, had his hands up there, knocking balls down, causing disruption. He definitely was impressive. And honestly, the defensive line between John Allen and Deron Payne were blowing up the interior of the line on a couple plays. Like, typically in practice, they let the offense kind of let the play roll out, throw the ball deep and things like that. But at the same time, in a real game, Payne and Allen would have got those sacks. And I'd say probably like within that hour and a half practice, probably 2 or 3 sacks with them two alone. So that's some good news there. A surprising standout to me, now I'll be honest with you, I wasn't really a fan of this guy before a practice, but now I am, is Corn Elder, dude. Best name in the game, dude. Corn Elder. Number 26 had a great practice. There was one play, I believe Sam Howell threw an out pass to one of the wide receivers, one of the more, I'd probably say like a reserve wide receiver. And Corn Elder jumped off his feet, swat the ball out of his hands. We did the whole like no fly zone thing right afterwards. A lot of confidence there. And then later on, like maybe 2 or 3 plays later, he was still in the groove. There's a deep bomb of Jahan Dotson and swat that down too. So I didn't even know he would be like a real consideration for a cornerback. He's probably think he'd make the team, but he was giving me confidence. Like, hey, you know what? Like, maybe this guy could play. Kind of rose some eyebrows for me. So he earned a fan out of me today. So I'm looking forward to watch Corn Elder continue to grow and kind of see how that goes. Another standout was Bobby Mccain. There was one awesome play where Carson Wentz threw a pass to Jahan Dotson. It was a good play. Carson threw the ball very well. Jahan Dotson got his hand on it. And then basically Bobby McCain ripped it out of his hands, man. Like, ripped it out, like, aggressively just ripped it out. And it was like incomplete. And it was really cool because it was a good play by everybody. Wentz threw it on time. Jahan reached for it. Bobby McCain ripped it out. And this was a good play altogether. And another star of practice today was the defensive backs coach, Chris Harris. He's fired up, man. People keep talking about him being the potential defensive coordinator if Jack Del Rio ever leaves. Dude, he's like, oh, motherfucker, just cussing and going off and going crazy, running 20, 30 yards. Like, you don't do that around here. You don't do this around here. Like, just going nuts, going crazy. So his energy is through the roof. I love Chris Harris. I'm a fan of him. He's a good good defensive backs coach. So I was kind of pumped with that too. Other things I want to let you all know about. I know people worried about linebackers. So Jamin Davis, Cole Holcomb basically played linebackers almost the entire, whenever it was first team, it was always them. Got a lot of reps today. Nothing really stood out. I mean, they just played solid. I noticed they were working together with communication and kind of passing along wide receivers that cross their face and, kind of working together and passing that along. That was fine. Nothing crazy, no glaring issues. If anything, the offense, from what I saw, probably had more of the upper hand today, but it wasn't really their fault because it was some good throws. I thought the quarterbacks did pretty well today. Like, Wentz could kind of throw it over the linebackers and into a bucket. He can do that pretty well. And Howard did the same thing today, and Heineke. So it wasn't their fault. They played pretty well. But when Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb did not actually play, the two backup linebackers was Kalika Hudson and David Mayo. So they were the two linebackers behind them. They got a lot of reps today. I don't know if this was by chance or by design, but of the two, Hudson would be a blitzer. He blitzed a lot, and that was kind of eye opening to me. And it's something I noted when I was watching, but it was pretty good altogether. Last but not least, other packages on defense because I'm curious about that because I don't know who's going to start where. Benjamin St. Juice was a starting nickel. He played, for the way it worked out, right? Was you have the linemen you think of. It's Sweat, Payne, Allen were our defensive linemen. The fourth lineman was James Smith Williams covering for Chase Young. The linebackers were Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb. Then Kendall Fuller and William Jackson. Bobby McCain, Curl, and then Sandjuice kind of completed that 11. They ran that set more than any other set. That was their starting lineup. When things changed, the first two people that were off the bench were I'd say Derek Forrest. I would say he came off the bench a lot. Percy Butler came in. They actually ran together like as deep safeties together at one point during the day, and then Hudson. So those were like the three rotational guys that I saw come off the bench quite often. Altogether, I'll be straight up with you. The practice was, hour of like kind of like just warming up, stretching, doing individual drills, then probably like an hour, 45 minutes of like actual game time. So there's really not much to draw from it, but thought it was a pretty average practice. I think things kind of went as advertised. It was kind of back and forth. Like offense looked pretty good. Wentz had the live arm. Dotson looked pretty solid. The defensive line, crossed some chaos, which is pretty legit. And our defensive backs did pretty well. So I'm not going to draw like grandiose conclusions from one practice, but I thought it was pretty solid altogether. But there's some good things there as well. And if you guys have any questions, hit me up in the chat. And I'll let you think if I can think of anything, I can answer that for you. Last but not least, kind of like the vibe after practice. That was pretty cool. There's some sort of like event with like wounded warriors or veterans going on today. What ended up happening were that was pretty cool. So the players after practice were awesome, right? Like I would like if you saw my Twitter feed, Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Allen, they stayed an extra hour after practice, like legitimately. Practice ended at 11, it was like 11:50, and they were still signing autographs, still taking pictures. They know their stature on the team, and they are so class acts about it. Like I'm being serious. Like Terry McLaurin, like I actually saw him today. He was like, man, like I was like, good luck this year. I always try to keep it like legit. Like, hey, good luck. Wish you the best health. It's simple as that, right? He's like, I really appreciate you coming out here today. Look me in my eyes, like serious. He's like, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming out. The fans mean a lot. He said that, and it was like he said that every single person, and he was like, he took the time to be like to pause and look you in the eye to say that. Not that resonated with me. Jonathan Allen ran by. I think his parents were there today. I was like, yo, John, you got a minute? Can you sign my ball? And he was like, I'll be right back with you, man. I got to go see these wounded warriors. I got to go walk over there and interact with them. That's like that's kind of the deal today, right? So he walked over there and I was like, all right, cool, but like I thought, is he going to come back? And he actually did. He's like, he came back. He saw I got a picture with him, signed my ball. He was taking pictures with people. He took off his like I guess he had like a little hat. I don't want to say do rag. A little something to kind of like cover up his hair for under his helmet, and he basically gave it to a couple fans. And it was one girl that was like, you'll give it to me. You're gonna holler at John and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. So they were cool, man. The players were respectful. Talked to Curtis Samuel. I said, "What's up, man? How you doing? Is everything all right?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good." He seemed confident. People were next to me were like, "Oh, you burned someone yesterday in the defensive back drill. Like, how'd you do?" He's like, "That's what you do, man." Like, he just had that confidence amongst him too. So it was pretty solid. But altogether, man, I had a good time. It was fun. Honestly, that's what it's about, man. Those positive vibes, no negative energy. People were cool. It was fun catching up with fans. Everyone was looking out for each other. Players were awesome, and so it was a good time, man. So altogether, it's another day, another check on the list. We have a lot more practices to go, so hopefully everyone stays healthy. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I'm gonna cut up a video of all my like videos for today and make another upload today on my channel. So please check it out. If you have any questions, hit me up. Please subscribe to my channel. Like and comment will really help me out. I really want to make my community grow, and I appreciate y'all. All right, so have a good day. Take care. Peace out. Have a good weekend.